Greetings, everyone. This is Sparda 3G in episode 31 of the Sparda's World podcast. We have officially hit the 31, and we are not going to stop. Well, actually, I'm not going to stop. I'm the only guy that does this production, so it's not easy, to be honest with you, but I managed to succeed at, and I'm not going to stop any further. I mean, there will be delays, there will be some, a little break or two, whatever. Depends on the week, it depends on the situation, but that's just life itself. So, here I am, going with another episode of the podcast, and yeah, let's just get to the news, which actually, there's actually a bunch of them, and some of them some of them, it kind of strikes me to... Didn't think that it was going to happen so soon, but then again, it's because I haven't followed that series. So going with the beginning of this news is the fact that Orange, the manga, is actually going to end next month, August. So I wasn't aware that the series is going to be that short, or I think I'm not sure how many chapters there is. I know it didn't pass 30. So yeah, that's pretty short, but then again, there are stories that is meant to be short. It's not meant to be that long, and that's supposed to be like over 500 chapters, whatever. Doesn't bother me at all. I just think it wasn't going to be that short, or the fact that it's my fault for not following in the first place, because I don't know what the story is about, or rather, what is how the concept works, and what is the the priority of the story. There are stories that needs to end short in order to, just to write a story. Yeah, it can't be that long, because sometimes you got to stretch it. And when it comes to stretching out, it doesn't really hold up well. So, it depends on the writing quality. It's something that I learned from Bakuman. But then again, that is a common sense that you should not stretch the story out. Because if you do, and if you're not really prepared for it, then it's going to ruin your writing to begin with. So yeah, Orange is actually ending next month. I'm going to read that because it does seem. I hear a lot of people actually like it. A friend of mine, actually told me about it and says it's really good. Definitely check it out. Yeah, I'll check it out very soon in due time. Another news that we have is apparently Tokyo Ghoul doesn't have just one OVA, but has another one that's coming out in December. And that one is involved with Shu, first time meeting with Horochi. That is actually a character from the novel that is introduced in the second series, Tokyo Ghoul Re. I find this interesting because regardless of the animation studio being Studio Period, and, maybe just the OVA, they could do something good out of it. As in, put it in the right production team. Who knows? But I guess the upside to it is the fact that I never read the novel. And I would like to read the novel if it was 100% translated. But it's not. So, this is the only way I can get. Now, granted, it most likely going to leave out some details from the novel itself. But, I still wanted to read it because I am not, I want to read it, of course, but I still want to check it out because it is interesting backstory of Tsukiyama Shu and Horochi first meeting. I know some part of it from the summary, but I like to see it myself or read it myself. But now I'm going to get to see it myself. Hopefully they don't change too much, and hopefully they don't skip a lot of things. I expect some parts to be skipped, but I can only hope they don't skip so much. So yeah, that one is coming December. The one that's coming in September is Tokyo Ghoul Jack. That's a side story. That's the one that's involved with Arima and another character named Fura. So that one, I have not even read that, to be honest with you, but I am planning to read that very soon and then see what the anime would do well. Now, it could be easier to not notice what the difference, because in the content wise, you will notice a thing or two, but in terms of art, I believe the art isn't made by Ishida Sui. It's actually made by someone else. So I guess that'll be hard to tell the difference, or at least appreciate Ishida work. because the art is gonna be different. So I guess the anime advantage, it will stick to one art as in their own kind, not trying to make it a direct copy from the manga source itself. But we'll see how that goes. So that one is on September. The December one is the Hoshu in high school meeting Horochi. So I'm actually looking forward to how they work out. I know the animation could be, a hit and miss. But maybe, just maybe, they would get the right production guy to do the work in order to make it satisfying for the fans at the very least. I know the anime itself wasn't as satisfying, but this one should not be so hard to adapt to it. Let's see. We have Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie that's actually going to come out next year. They actually show a teaser trailer. The title is called the Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimensions. And, it is taking place after the original story of Yu-Gi-Oh! Should be interesting to the fans. I'm going to check it out. Why not, I have been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Since I was, maybe I'm not sure if I was a child then. I don't remember when it came out. But all I remember, when it first introduced in the United States, that's when I started to watch. And then, I guess I fall to the victim of playing the card game. So, yeah, I was playing the card game. I don't play anymore. I don't collect them anymore. And I didn't go further down with the card game itself. I only stopped like the third set, I believe, and I never collected anymore. I didn't waste too much money on it. I waste money, but not too much. I wasn't too much into it. Nothing wrong. I'm not going against you guys. That's your personal choice of life. But, for me, I didn't do that amount of spending. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Wise, I only saw the first series complete. And the other ones, never really saw them completely. There's I believe, 5 now. There's 5 series of them. And, I only saw the first series. So, I guess it's easier for me to get into this next movie. And, a lot of United States audience really a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess in the original source, more so than in Japan. But maybe that's just me. Maybe Japan really likes it too. I know the card game, sure, but I'm talking about the series itself, the first original series. Sometimes we, United States audience, appreciate the series much more than the Japan audience. At least like Digimon. For some reason, that always got my attention with the idea of where we made a poll. And that was like the number 2 most anticipated anime. While in Japan, that was like number 14, 15, or somewhere there. But, that's different strokes for different folks, right? So, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a teaser trailer. You can check it out yourself. See if you're a fan of it still. If you're not a fan of it, check it out. Why not? Let's see what you got. We also have a little preview for that One Piece episode. The one that's a special episode based on Sabo. Yes, it's a 50-second ad, and it's going to be 2 hours long. I'm actually kind of interested, probably because, it's something new, I guess. I mean, it's taking place in the same timeline where it's happening in the series, but you know what I mean. It's it could be a hit, it could be a miss, whatever. I always enjoy the special of the anime more so than the episode themselves that's based on the story. Because, as of late, from what I was told, their episodes are really like one chapter or barely one chapter. It's astonishing to even hear that. But I don't even know how they stall time. They probably do the last time that takes 5 minutes of the episode, then get the episode title, and then go on with the show. So yeah, there's that too. That's coming in August 22nd. That's when it's aired, this 2-hour special. Go and check it out myself. And lastly, if you're a collector of a manga series, if you're a collector of manga volumes itself, there is a buy 2 get 1 free going on at Barnes & Nobles, and it's going to last up to July 25th. So there is that new Tokyo Ghoul series. The Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1 is out. The other volumes that's coming out this week as well. Or if you want to if you somehow haven't got Attack on Titan Volume 1, because God knows that Volume 1 always shows up in the top 10 selling series, top 10 selling volume for past over 100 weeks already. So I don't even know who still hasn't got one. Don't look at me. But still, if you haven't got one of those, if you haven't got any of this volume, now is a good time to try to collect them with a buy two, get one free. And, it always helps when you get the membership of the Barnes & Noble. So, yes, it's all the way to July 25th. Yeah, if you're really a collector of a manga series, if you really want to get this volume, whatever it is from the series, now is a good time to do so. So, go check it out yourself. And that'll be done for the whole news report. We should get to the review itself. Starting with Fairy Tail, which, by the way, that's the last thing I need to say, actually. The whole Fairy Tail magazine, the production, everything about it, like the spin-offs, the guidance, that Fairy Tail Zero, it's officially over. As of this month, it is now done. The series, this Fairy Tail Zeros, is finished. It's stopped at chapter 13, and is online to read it about as well as the spin-off series. They're done as well. So everything about this whole Fairy Tail magazine started from last year is now officially done. So go do check it out, the guidance stuff, if you haven't already. So speaking of Fairy Tail, let's get to that right now. As of late, this is getting interesting, and I see good promises in this arc so far. I mean, yes, in the beginning, and yes, Fairy Tail is known for a good build-up, and then it goes, but not in too much of a bad sense. Well, some arc has that, but lately, the recent events, they haven't done that much bad in terms of failing to keeping up the hype. I mean, there's some in there, here and there in the last arc, or the real last arc. But then again, overall, it was actually pretty enjoyable. And this one seems to be more of a real deal. It seems to be more of a, not like a different direction, but more so like a different intake of the Fairy Tail. Because, maybe, I mean, I know it's still early. It is early. But, the fact is, Mashima is doing more build-up, more exploring on this new world, or rather the new continent, more or less to say. And then we get this whole new villain, like there's 12 of them, and then you got the leader, who is pretty much the top of all that, which is Zerov, of course, so what can you even do? And, lately, Fairy Tail hasn't been always been on the winning streak. There's always going to be a bad outcome, which has been doing that for the past, well, actually just one arc. I mean, you got that Tenru Island arc that did happen like that, with the whole Arcanugia come and invade and just make the Fairy Tail Guild into 7 years halt, and then they come back being poor and all. But, basically, it seems like that's the take we're going to get. More of a serious note, and much less of always have a happy ending, or more like a party, like, oh, we won, what this mean, party, stuff like that. We don't get that much often now in Fairy Tail, but, I guess you could say it's best to get out of the whole redundancy, and it's better to just do something a little bit new and do something fresh, it's not easy to do something original, but in terms of the series itself, you could try to do something original. So let's see what happens. But as of now, the whole build-up, the whole premise of this arc is actually pretty interesting, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm just trying not to get too much hope up, but right now I'm enjoying what I'm getting. So this one is no exception. We get more Zerov and how the Alvarez Empire come about. It's interesting how that works out, because remember we really learned about the past arcs. We just been dealing with Zerov's technologies and Zerov experiments and all that stuff. So it's like we're taking out one by one, and then we're finally getting to the main boss, which is Zeroth, or you could say Arcanugia, but it's hard to say at this point. But right now we're focusing on Zeroth, and we are continuing from that chapter, that really, really good chapter with Zeroth's backstory being explored from the very beginning of his time. So anyway, we get to the chapter 1. We're going back with this whole Zeroth. Now that it's been known that he is Emperor Sparda, now he's not going back home, and everybody's greeting him back. Well, not everybody, but some of the members of the Spriggan 12. As you recall, those are the top wizards. And, of course, we're not going to see the number 1, or rather the one that came from the consoles, which I'm still looking forward to a lot. Especially the fact that that guy actually looks similar to anything that's relative to Makoto family tree branch. But maybe it's just a coincidence, and maybe it's just one hell of a guy that's just so damn powerful that nobody can touch him in terms of Fairy Tail Guild, and unless you work together or something like that. Something that they had to do against Hades. But we'll see what happens with that. So we get some introduction of the Spriggan 12. We got the Winter General Imbo. He was the first one to greet welcome back to for Zeroth. Then we have Princess Demiria Yesta, which it says War Princess, so I'm assuming it's like very combat heavy. Maybe I'm not. It seems like the names, their titles has their. Of course, their titles should be indicating their classes. So Winter General, General enough said. War Princess. I'm assuming she's like heavy combat duty. And then we have a King of Desert, Agil Lumar, which pretty much kind of self-explanatory, and he seems a little more cheerful, or rather more amped up. This whole war is finally coming about, and he's been looking forward to it. And then we got the King of Sorcery, Argus. I think that's how you say his name. He's pretty old. He almost looked like Hades. I actually was going to say, hey, is that Hades? He's back alive. He's been revived by Zeroth or something like that. But then that's not him. But yes, he's a very old guy who's King of Sorcerer, pretty much giving self-explanatory that he's pretty much a top tier level of a magic user. So we got a good glimpse of we got 4 of them. You could count the last one 5 from the previous chapters. Brandish, that'll be 5, unless she's not considered one. But then again, she kind of pretty much said it. So yeah, that is 5. We're missing 7, or you could say we're missing 6, because one of them is that I forgot his name already. It's been a while, but that wizard from the console. That's part of it. So that's 6. We're just missing 6 more to see, and now we just have the whole Makarov finally getting to meet the Emperor, which now as he knows is Zeroth. He's still acting normal. That is until Zeroth told everybody to leave them alone. They would have their own chat, and that's where they get serious, because we have Zeroth and Makarov discussing. First of all, Makarov asked him like if he's Zeroth or he's an Emperor Spriggan, and he said, "I'm both, but if I have to choose one, I will say I'm Zeroth." And he actually explained his whole story and how he made his empire, and how he's actually been there for so long. So he actually said that for 100 years that he has been building this empire. First of all, the country itself was actually pretty empty. It was just a normal place. Then as years goes by, he just has more guilds and guilds, and more of them just keep on populating. And then suddenly it became his own empire. I'm not sure how long it takes, but the point is he pretty much created that country itself when you really think about it. So I guess that explains what he's been doing for so long. So it's actually interesting. I do like the fact we're getting more and more backstory, more or less, of Zeroth. Ever since that great chapter from, of the whole backstory of him, how he got the black magic, and of course they hinted how did Natsu meets Ignu, and what's the relationship between him and Mavis, which, by the way, kind of gives you the idea that we're going to get to explore more later on, because we have Zero telling Markov that, quit the act with the Lumen Historia name, because that's the name that everybody knows, but he knows the real name is actually called Fairy Heart, and so he knows about the whole thing. It seems like he's no stranger to that, of course, because he's Zero. But it also tells me we're going to get some more insight of him and Mavis, and worried about the end of them, because the Gaiden, the Fairy Tail Zero, they show us how they met, but they never get explored more than that. I mean, they explore a little bit more with Mavis being like a nice person to Zero, to the fact that she made a illusion for Zero to enjoy life, because of course, if you get near, they will die in front of him. So it was nice of her to do that for Zero. Now, I don't know what's the fallout between them, or if Zero knows how Mavis becomes that crystal, the fairy heart, as they say. So, and we don't even know if she's alive or not. It's a lot of things to. It's a lot of mystery, and it seems like we're going to get a lot of answers in this arc, not the next arc. This arc, I feel like we're going to get a lot of answers there, and I feel like we're going to get explanation on Zero and Mavis' relationship in the past. So now that Zero also explains that the Empire was meant to actually go against Arcanugia, but he didn't think it was the right time, and then of course he has to take out the problems that the council has, which were Face and that Etherin. Or Etherin. Hopefully I got that name right in terms of pronouncing. So yeah, that's pretty much why Zero didn't go there. But now that the power from Ishgard is very low, and the only thing that's stopping, or the only thing they have really is the Fairy Heart, which is supposed to be the worst of all. I think that's how it goes. But nonetheless, the fact that everything is all. The fact that the manpower from the Ishgard is running low, now is a great time for Zerov to commence a huge war, or as they call it, the Dragon King Festival, where it's going to have the Black Wizards, the King of Dragons, and humans all going into one big giant war. And yeah, Zero seems to be cool with that. The way how that normal expression he has, or that happy expression, whatever you could say, is actually kind of weird to see Zero coming from that like very saddened, depressed guy where you see in Tenru Island. Up to this point now, he's like all happy that he's going to see everybody's going to die, everybody's going to be exterminated, as he called it, an extermination. And Makarov just had enough with that. So he had enough of that, and he's not going to let him. But he got easily taken down by Zerov, with no hesitation, with nothing. It's just crazy that he's like, wow, that was damn easy. That begs the question, what makes Fairy Tail thinks they could handle this? Actually, to be fair, they don't know if Zerov is the emperor. But once they know, which they do in the end, now... there's no chance in hell they can even go for it. It's just, I don't even know. So, to me, it does give me a bit hope that they will not be the ones to take out everything and do everything all just by one guild. To me, I think they really should go all out war. And I know a lot of people are feared that the war is going to take too long. It's going to be like a year arc. 2-year arc, whatever year arc, and everything will always go slow pace. But you never know. You don't know how Mashima works with war in the story, or at least in the fairy tale, because But you guys give it a chance, and maybe it'll be interesting, and maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be a bust. I don't know. But I still think that it should be the right decision, because it will have everybody in one arc, and it will be like one of the big major arc that would change the course of the story. Because it has Zerov, Arcanugia is going to get involved soon, and everybody that we all been experiencing since the beginning of the series is all going to be there. So it would be interesting to do that. Yes, I know a lot of series does that, and a lot of series didn't do so well, in terms of making a very full blown out war or anything that's interesting or anything that just remains good consistently. Still, let's just give this series a chance. But to finish it off, he was about to kill Makarov until Mess came in the right time, which, by the way, Makarov final word to Zerov was Ugly Demon, which is close to their name because pretty much Spriggan is the name of an ugly fairy. So go figure on that one. But yeah, Mess came to save him, and pretty much Makarov is back with everybody. But unfortunately, there's still Mess, kind of, I guess you could say, kind of ruined the reunion. Not really, but it is devastating news to the fact that Zerov is the emperor and he's in that continent. So therefore, they're fighting against a huge army, let alone Zerov himself, because he's just too overpowered. And Natsu knows about it, and Zerov pretty much sends that Natsu is in there. And that's the end of the chapter. So it was a good chapter, though. It, got the small introduction of the Spriggan wizards. We got decent talks between Zerov and Makarov, and it ends with pretty much Zerov hell-bent to have an extermination on the humans and pretty much everything else. And then, luckily for him, he escaped death again. That's when you think about it, because Makarov has been escaping death. Very lucky old guy. So, yeah, not sure where the next chapter will go to. Not sure where it's going to head to. Though we're going to get a lot of pages. I think we're going to get like 31 pages with special color and cover. Because, the Kodasha, or the week, or this magazine, to be more exact, is always, like I guess you could say they play, I'm not sure you call it play fair, or play nice with the mangaka, or maybe they're being more harsher, like do more pages. I don't know, but either way, we're getting more pages because why not? And it should be interesting to see what's next and see what's the follow up. Now they know this, Zerov is there. Continuing off from this chapter, we have more training. But not every training always going to be the same thing. And by that, I mean something like you work together with your friend, your comrade, your former foe, or whatever. And then you pick a monster or a villain, and then you just fight it off. And then you lose, you win, you learn something from there. And you continue learning something new, whatever you have acquired. However, in this chapter, mainly the ending, that's not always the case. And it seems like we're going to get more insight of Meliodas and the Ten Commandments. At least that's what I'm guessing. But I do like this chapter. This chapter was good. It was enjoyable. More of a training, but, there's nothing wrong with those. I do like some of the character, demonstration, the in-depth look. Or more like, like more characterization, especially like you see the confrontation between King and Meliodas at the end. I actually thought I actually enjoyed a small talk between them, especially where it challenges where should we forgive them or not, especially after coming off from that last arc where pretty much Hendrickson almost took out the entire Britannia. So, I mean, of course, to myself, it almost feels like a small jab, but it's not really a jab. It's really the series on its own. It's really the mangaka just saying what he needs to say. It's not really like, oh, I want to point fingers in that other series, but pretty much you get the idea that it's just your thought. It's kind of like Fairy Tail, where everybody thinks they're jabbing Naruto with all those Avenger story, the turning dark side because of the evil power. It's still coincidence. It was still a coincidence. Even if it's already done, even if it's made to be like a little trollish way, it was still a coincidence. At least to me. A lot of people still believe that was a quick jab and then just call it quit. But it's still coincidence. And it's not like an original story. It is pretty, it's been a story that has been recreated over and over again. But let's get back to this story, to this newest chapter of Nanatsu no Taizai, and we continue off with this whole Hanzo and Gil still doing their training and finally learning something from the last chapter. If you recall, they have their own weakness, they have their own strengths, both of their opposites. Each counterpart has their own weakness as their strengths, and so now in this one, Hauser pretty much put more focus on his technique rather than being rational and just go all out going nuts. It's great that he could go head on and be flexible and pretty much don't stop and think. He's more of a go around and be aggressive, I guess you could say. However, the problem is he's not good at focusing, not really thoughtful. But now he is. Now he put more focus on his technique, put more of a concentration to make it more stronger, more effective, like charging up, stuff like that. And then Gil, of course, he's thoughtful, but the problem is he's not flexible. He stands still and think about it. But if he's gonna do that, he's gonna get damaged, and he might as well. He has to keep going and think. That would have been the best idea. So therefore, he found a way to do that. And not only he uses his thunder on his sword, but now he starts to consume it from his body. And with that, he actually created a shield, so that way he could have he could hide the blind spots, and it won't be easy for the enemies to take on him. And not only that, he could actually think and fight as well as protect himself. So that's good on him. Then, unfortunately, even though they thought they could win, even though it felt like everything was going upside, the Clay Dragon still won. The Clay Dragon still won. He's like the very next page, you just see them all knocked out. Like, what the hell happened? Like, yeah, and Jenna pretty much told them like, you did good. The ending, is weak because they just got defeated. But the tag was good and all that stuff. It's just the Clay Dragon, the enemies at least. Even though you finally overcome that one part, it was a dragon, and it was something that obviously they're gonna be more than just like, I am resistant to lightning and all that. But yeah, even though they failed, they did progress well. And Hauser and Gil are best buddies, so they're just like, yeah, we did it. They're cheerful to each other. Henderson see them, and he's happy for them. He's happy that they're growing up so well. They're still good friends, and not only that, but getting stronger and more wiser. And it's sad for him because, of course, he has committed a lot of sins, even though it wasn't his fault. Understandable, but his body, his hands consume blood of the others, and there's nothing much he can do now. And you can't see his face for a while because, of course, he's struggling. The fact that he done so much sins and he can't do anything about that. He can't redeem himself from like that. Or you know what I mean. By what I mean is that the whole I could bring their life back. It's too late. It's over now. Melida sees him and he tells them he heard the news that he rescued Hauser and Gil, and for that alone he will have his thanks. And you see, finally get to see Henderson, his face. He's crying, which is it's a good thing they're doing this so soon, because if this was going on for like a past, let's say 500 chapters, and then he starts to be a good guy, it will be hard to take it in. In here, it works. It works because it's so soon. It's so early in the series. And Henderson has only been a villain for one arc. I mean, he's been a villain for a while, but not too long, and he wasn't really in play until the last arc, the whole set that seven deadly sin invading the kingdom. So that alone, it wouldn't make it wouldn't make us audience hard to accept that he's good, or hard to accept that we should feel a bit sympathy, especially the fact he was under control, which is actually more easier to sympathize him, because in the other series, if he wasn't under control and he was all angry, he was always pure or whatever, and then after so long he just turned to a good guy. It's like, why? It's like, and then what makes it worse is if it's trying to make us feel sorry. It's like, it's hard to do that because you've been a villain for way too long. You've been pure. You know what you did, as in not mind control. You know it because it came from your own heart. It came from the bottom of your heart that you wanted to do that, and now you wanted to feel regret. It's fine, but sometimes there's limits, and when you pass that limit, it's hard to go back. It's kind of like being annoying, kind of be a complete asshole for the past, for a long length of time, and then all of a sudden, you want to make us feel sympathy. It's like, it won't work. It depends on the story, really. But like, say like a movie, like for the good hour or so, and then you only have like 20 minutes left to go, you want to make us feel sympathy, but you made it such a bad character. It just don't work. So with Henderson, it works. It works because it's still soon. It's still early in the series, and it's not like we've been spending 333. We just 133, and he turned good, or rather gone back good. Well, I believe like chapter 110 or chapter 108, much early before. Even so, it's still enough time to get the sympathy. And of course, like I said, he was under control, so that helps. Anyway, Goddard and Arthur are the one that are working together, and they seem to have a hard time because, well, the enemies, it's not a dragon, it's not a monster, it's an armor, it's a golem type. And Goddard thought it was going to be a little bit easy by doing that trick of his. Fortunately, he could still control on his own. So Goddard can't really make a complete control of it. And, I forgot Arthur's the first time for him to see Goddard getting beheaded. And, Goddard is all normal. He's like, oh, good catch. But yeah, they seem to have a hard time. I'm not sure what kind of outcome they're gonna come out from them. I mean, for Hauser and Gil Thunder, we know now, we already got it, and they're just gonna make it more progress as they keep going back, and hopefully they beat that dragon, and hopefully they will progress even further. Then we have King. King now wants to train, but he has to go with a partner, and Jenna suggested Henderson because he's the only one out there. And King felt real awful to even get that idea to work together with him. But then Melida shows up, and then he decided to work with King. And seems like it's a good thing that Melida did say that, yes, I could get my power back. I haven't got it back yet, but even so, I like to be training myself, get stronger, and then, get ready to use that power, the rest of the power that he once had. So at least Melodis is not gonna just chill around, or because he's just gonna get his full power back. Instead, he's actually gonna train in order to control it more frequently. So that's good. I like that. But of course, there is a much bigger reason, which it gets to the end of the chapter with King and Melodis starting to talk to each other about the whole Henderson. Well, more like, King have that bad attitude about it. And then Melodis just tells him, why are you trying to be open-minded? And, he's trying to be open-minded with Henderson. It's like, you want me to forgive him? Is that what you're telling me? It's like, I'm not really saying to forgive him because, what he's done is unforgettable. And, it's understandable that why you feel this upset. But, he was under control. And then King goes like, so if he was under control, it makes him free. He has a good point, though. I gotta give him that. Because, again, it's not easy. I mean, I understand Henderson got mind control, but the action says everything, and there's nothing you can really say you're redeemed 100%. Not everybody's going to say you're good to go 100%. And yes, I know he's under control, and he can go back, but again, as long as the guy is think to himself that he has done a horrible sin, which he has, control or not, whatever, then it's something that he cannot be erased. But Meliodas is being realistic as well. But then, unfortunately, the conversation got to a different topic, and that's about Friendred, when Meliodas tells him he's part of the Ten Commandments, and then that's where King is getting a bit more and more frustrated with the idea that the demons talk, because he has a real hard time with this demon, especially the fact that they almost went out there and killed Diani. I can't blame him. And of course they also attacked his hometown, and the whole story with the red demon is really, the demons are really a pain in the ass, are the one that's pretty much bringing the terror in the world they live in. And, up to the point King is just gets more and more annoyed. Up to the fact that he goes to after Meliodas. He's like, you're a demon too. And you seem to know too much about Ten Commandments. And Meliodas got the idea, damn, he's going to fight me. He has that face of like he's ready for anything that King is going to throw at him. Because he was pissed as well. And then King pointed at his weapon at him and trying to strike back, and pretty much ended with him like, what side are you on? So yeah, that's their conversation. And supposedly they was going to pick a monster or whatever to battle, but since King really don't have any time to feel, like he's having this trust issue with Meliodas ever since this whole Ten Commandments issue has brought upon. So now I'm just wondering if we're going to get more insight of Meliodas and the Ten Commandments, because it does have a lot of questions to answer, since his brother, so to say, is in the Ten Commandments, and of course he really knows them so well ever since the time when they were unsealed. And Meliodas got that look of like, oh my god, it's like shit. Sorry for that. But anyway, yeah. It's a good chapter though. I still enjoying this whole training thing. Like I said, they didn't bother to take too long with the training scenes with all the characters, and it's not like each chapter is going to be focused on one guy, and then another guy, and then another guy, or another team, and another team. But in this case, we see the whole Goddard and Arthur having a tough time. Hauser and Gil, they learned their lessons. They're not progressing. They have to defeat the Clay Dragon and then get more experience point. And then we have King and Meliodas having this trust issue, mainly from King with Meliodas, since he is a demon and he has a connection with the Ten Commandments. So should be interesting to see what's the next chapter going to unfold. Hopefully it is more of Meliodas and the Ten Commandments, because that's something that needs to be discussed. I gotta say, this chapter was pretty informative and pretty, I guess you could say, heavy text chapter. And there's nothing wrong with that. Of course there's nothing wrong with that. We have a lot of details, a lot of information, backstories, like 2 to 3 of them, I believe, in this chapter alone. But it's going to be a lot to talk about, but maybe I should shorten up. I'm going to do my best to shorten up and try not to think of my theory on what the possibility of this whole outcome is going to be for the future arcs, or even this arc itself. But to me, it seems like there's more of a reference to the later arcs than this arc not the last part with the whole Horochi and Kanai talking to each other about what to deal with Shu, which is the main part of this chapter. But the beginning of the chapter, and maybe even the middle of the chapter, it seems to be more of reference to the later events, rather than the one that's gonna come out with this whole, the whole Rose operation and Shu and Tsukiyami family, this whole thing. I think those are those whole thing is gonna be the whole information from this whole a lot of parts of the chapter besides the Tsukiyami family is more of on hold due to later events. But let's get to the chapter, because this is actually kind of long. It's a lot of talking. Nothing wrong with that, because this is actually a lot of interesting stuff. And, of course, it's still getting to that whole big event that's going to happen with this whole arc, which is actually going to start climbing right now, this whole writing of the arc, because the end part is where the interesting aspect of comes in. So let's get to the beginning. We left off with the whole Kuaiwa and Kosaka, or, as you all remember as Yoriko, sorry. But, there we find out they meet each other for such a long time, and that's because they were actually old classmates, and, they know each other from that. And then we get the backstory, how they come know to each other. And according to her, he's always actually stood out the most, because he's like quiet, and he has that expression of like, just stay up put and stay intact and stay in like very focused, like. So I guess you could say he's never that much of a difference from today's and the past. So there you go. They're pretty much the same. And I'm not talking about the facial expression. I'm not talking about his eyes. I'm talking about how he is. And, Kosaka pretty much talking about the days that she how much he's so dedicated and how much he's actually a nice guy. Especially the days, the fact that she knows that he's pretty athletic himself. He's pretty well trained. He's really top notch. I guess that's why Ure sees him as a very competitor. Yes, granted, the whole father thing, they have more to that in terms of rivalry. But I'm talking about this whole situation of his characteristic, especially the fact that this guy broke a ghoul's neck. Come on, that's pretty damn impressive. But anyway, we get the backstory of the past, how she come know to him with the race thing, where she wasn't really athletic. She was really very lackluster in terms of that, and she was about to lose for the team with him, but he never had that face of like, you disappoint me or anything like that. He's more of a, he's still in his game. He's still determined. He has no grudge being hold. So once she reached to him, he pretty much wiped the competition out, and he win by himself still. So yeah, he's pretty impressive guy. And we get to some little more information what she has been doing. Kosaka pretty much making bread for coffee shops. So interesting to say that. There's so many things, that possibility of what could come in the later arcs. But yes, that's what she's doing right now. Making breads for coffee shops. Anyway, pretty much you get the idea. We going to see something that reference that. I don't know if she still hangs out with Toka. Is she? I don't recall. I remember she was waiting for her or waiting for something back in the last chapter of the last series, but we never really know what's the situation between them, because you always gotta keep reading the series in order to learn more and more of these characters. But the fact that we're getting more of her in this chapter, or rather the reintroduction, along with a connection with Kureiwa, it only tells me that we're going to see a conflict, not between them, but more like their friends, or should I say her friends. Now, if she still hangs out with Toka, the fact that now Toka has a best friend that connects with a CCG investigator. That's only troubling, and that's just it's going to be something. To me, I feel like there's going to be a time that Toka is going to forcefully get into the combat zone once again. I mean, I don't know what she's been doing besides being a reshab and pretty much do her thing that she used to do in Eteku, but maybe this is the way of her coming back in action. I don't know how exactly, but I feel like this reason behind this Kuaiwa and Kosaka have a connection, and not only that, but the whole, her ending with "come by again." It's like, yeah, let's catch up on things. Let's be good friends now from that point forward. That only tells me there's going to be more to that later on. And then maybe the CCG investigator is going to find something suspicious about Ri or anything like that. I mean, that's what happened with Ateku. Once they find out something suspicious, that's when we got the whole Ateku raid arc, I don't know if there's going to be the exact same thing like a raid on that place. But again, there's a lot of tidbits we've been getting with this series, with this arc alone, with the whole... they found out that Toka and Ayato, there's two rabbits. There's not one same rabbit. So they found that out already. So it's like more and more we get to see how they all come together for the future arc. Or maybe the next arc. I can't say it will be in this arc. I just think it would be in this. I just think it would be in the next arc, because that's how it works. Last series, in a way, it works that way too. And same thing for Ayato, because Ayato is absent, or rather Ogiri is absent himself, but perhaps they would be in the next chapter. Next arc. And, time will tell. But, yeah, there's a lot of foreshadow, I guess you could say. So we get to see Ude working out because he needs to get stronger. He needs to get more promotion, but whatever. And so he working out. And, the good way to do it, according to the science test, not the doctor, I'm sorry, is using Kokaho, that Kagune aspect, because apparently the more, it's like, it was based on they were basing on Sasaki Kakuho. And it's based on being damaged or getting hurt. Pretty much, literally have the definition is more pain, more gain. Or in this case, if you don't have no pain, there will be no gain. So yeah, that's what it is doing. He's using the advantage of Kokaho in order to boost up his strength and everything else. In order to, of course, to get not only promotion but surpass Kureiwa in terms of rivalry. So good for him, I guess, but I wonder how much strong he's gonna get, and hopefully he could control that Kagune back then, because he was out of control at that time, and then he was very vulnerable after being defeated. So we'll see how his character is gonna progress from there. I know he's a little bit more upset because the whole, even though he got the promotion, he still feels like he was not really looked upon, especially when Kuaiwa did the most unthinkable by breaking a Ghoul's neck with bare hands. Nothing else I don't really blame him too much, but I'm hoping he's not much of an a-hole as he was before. So I can only hope for that. Speaking of Q Squad, we see the last remaining aspect of the discussion from Suzuya and his team, along with Masuki, discussing the connection of the Period and Ogiri, seeing if they could be connected, really, actually working together. But with the information they got, maybe it's a concern right now, because the Period was in charge of the stadium, and Ogiri, of course, they were just doing their work. So either there is a connection, or maybe there's no connection. Remember, Period is a group that just really don't give a crap and just like to mess around with anyone else. I mean, we've seen that with Kaneki. getting messed around by Uta and the Periods. So yeah, but it's interesting to see that kind of tidbits because it feels like that's something that might be recurring in the next arc. Because this arc is about Tsukiyama family and Shu, definitely Shu. That's the main important piece. So there's a lot of tidbits, if you ask me, in this chapter. And the whole Operation Fail, Help Won't Come. That quote is something it's something that is striking because they made it seem like they know the plan from the CCG investigator, but it's really hard to say because it's again, this whole period is really hard to read. So we'll see what happens. But we get a little bit more backstory in terms of the academy training, and that's what has to do with Sasaki, because Masuki came from the second junior academy, and Sasaki was actually a lecturer, and we get the understanding why he calls him Mr. Sasaki, and the Sasaki pretty much trained them how to control Quinke. And it's funny how like Suzuya never really got the pleasure to do the lecture because, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. But then again, it is Suzuya. Maybe there's something. I don't know if this is any significant or maybe it's just one of the little joke segment because it is Suzuya. You know how he works. But yeah, he's like, it's funny how they never asked him. But yeah, that's Sasaki still does his thing. He still does this whole lecturing. Now he's doing the new generation of CCG investigators, and we get I like this because we get more of a background of the CCG investigator, the whole system itself. Because in first series we got more of a understanding the Ghoul life and how they had to deal with the enemies that not only is from the humans, which is the doves, but as well as the ghouls themselves. It's like everybody is so hell-bent to do, hell-bent on everything. It's just, it seems like a terrible life, and it is. But you can make the best out of it, and maybe you could just live a good way. But with this series, we get more of a CCG stuff, and, we got like more of a understanding, insight of how the academy works, how they pick up their troops, how they train them, how they get to use the Quinke. I mean, you get that stuff from the last series as well because you had to learn something about it. But again, the last series was more on the Ghoul, especially with the whole Kagane explanation, the different types, and then the Kagaja and everything else about it. So this one is all about the CCG, and I'm welcome for it. I feel like if they get a different series, if we get a third one, let's just say the third one, I feel like I don't know where we're gonna go over, but we'll see. But maybe this will only be the last one, the series itself. Not to say it's gonna end short. Who knows? But I think it's gonna be. I feel like we might get one more. But anyway, let's not talk about the future. So pretty much Sasaki's done with his work. They still call him Mr. Sasaki, so I guess that's how it works. One guy tells him get a girlfriend. He's like, mind your business. Don't worry, he's good. He's set for life, if anything. Interesting about the whole academy as well is the whole how each year is different, and they have their own style. One will be more shoshu. One has more of more lively to them, and the one with the second junior one is actually more based on the past life being so tragic, as well as some of them can be a criminal, have a criminal records, which reminds me that Mitsuki, it's still hard to say, it's still undetermined if he really killed his parents. It never explored that much, but it goes to show you that we're going to get more detail with these characters anyway. So I'm looking forward to more of the Q Squad themselves. Speaking of tragic, well, not tragic, but more like scary. I don't know. I'm not the one to judge, but we have another character being introduced, or rather, not a new character, but well, as you could say, new character. Let's go with that. Tokage. Pretty much he's the second academy professor that specializes in combat. Well, at least that's what it says right there. So he has talking to Sasaki, how's the students going along? How's everything in there? It's like, he seems very harsh the way how he's told. I guess you could say the face he has, the scar he ended up getting, it's pretty much like a reflection of his character. Yes, I know you get the scar from somewhere, but sometimes when it comes to story, whenever the design you have, it pretty much tells you your character at times. Now, granted, of course, some stories could make a fun out of it. It's like, like for example, one series says like, oh, because I have a glass, it doesn't mean I'm very smart. I'm actually pretty bad at stuff like school, but stuff like that. But in real life, of course, we don't put that judgment into test. We're I can't speak for everybody, but I know I respect for everybody, whatever issue they have, whatever the facial, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. Person is a person. That's to me. But in the story, of course, it has like symbolism. So in this case, Tokage, he has that bad scar because, well, this is what I like. I like the fact that the Ishida actually connected to the one of the past remarks that if you go back to the first series, there was a story that Jason, he went to the detention centers and pretty much pretty much attacked them and then torturing some of them, and Tokage was actually part of them. And yeah, he got the scar from Jason, and it's a little recap. It's a little recap that Sasaki talking about, the whole Jason was the one that got killed. Suzuya is the one that took him out. Jason was from the 13th ward. A little small recap, but reflecting back to Tokage. And not only that, Sasaki even told him that he has that strict guidance and the appearance. Of course, many students are actually not a fan of him, not a fan of him. But it doesn't help that he actually did the knuckle crack. That is pretty much telling that he is not a good person. Like I said, imagery in story wise, you could either make a joke or you could really make a symbol. And in this case, it's a symbol. So now we got a lot of things that's actually not backstory and not much of a tidbits that could happen in a future arc. We finally get to what's very significant for this arc, and that's the whole discussion between Kanae and Horichi. And, at first, I actually asked myself, why is it that they can't really tell Shu that Kanaki is alive? And I found out now I think about it, the more I think about it, and Chi bring up a lot of good points. And, Kanae is pretty much I guess you could say Kanae is like kind of representing us. Because, it's actually pretty simple. You just have to tell him he's alive. And, like, if that is like, come on. That's, of course, that's simple. Even I could come up with that. But here's the thing. And it is pretty heavy consequence. Or more like, it's going to be a huge price. And the price is, we don't even know how big it's going to be. But what she pretty much saying that if you tell him that he's alive, then we don't even know what's next for him. Because he went to the step, he went through the phase of obsession. And we saw that from the first series. He's obsessed with Kanaki. So now, if once he find out that Kanaki's dead, he never recovered, and he still looks horrible shape. He just looks god awful. Like you just feel sorry for him. But now he's alive. It's a good time for recovery. It's a good time for him to come back to his foot. However, the story is he's upset, and if he's so upset, obsession. His obsession has been grown greatly up to the point that hearing the news, he will go to that guy. He will go to that person right away. So, but the situation has been different now. Kanaki is not just a normal person. Now He's a person that is a part of the investigator. He is a threat to Ghoul. And if he goes after him, it's going to lead to the Tsukiyami family, and it's going to lead trouble. It's going to lead to execution. So that's what she's pretty much telling. They don't know what's exactly going to happen. But, the only thing to do is, well, gamble it, I guess you could say. And, the reason why they want to do it now, or at least she probably want to do it now, is because, it's based on the novel, but, again, in this series, she's explaining more of the character of her that came from the novel, and that's about fun. And, she has a fun time being with Shu. And it's hard to think, she want to live life as long as it goes. And she don't want to die, so young or so, without feeling time of fun. Because, I think in the novel, she was about to die because I think she was about to drop her off top of the building. I don't know. I could be wrong. And she is like, well, take a picture time because this is my end. So let her go. So, yeah. But instead is pretty much her. She wanted to live her fullest and she wanted to have fun. She wanted to continue that fun. Not to die without any fulfillment. She might as well go with every stay. Since you're young, might as well just fill in with all the good time and adventures. So, Kanai, while understand that he still hates her or still doesn't really detest her because, the whole connection between her and Shu, yeah, she has a point. So, in the end, he decided to do it and pretty much tells her, there's a picture, there's a photo inside the envelope, and this she's going to tell him the number to go with and in order. And the only thing he has to do now is stay by his side, respect him, and whatever happens. So it's all guessing game. So by the end of the chapter, he finally see the picture, and now he wants detail, and with tears in his eyes, now knowing that Kanaki is alive. And from that point on, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know the arc is going to move uphill. And that's the end of the chapter. That's so much to say. There's actually a lot of theories I like to think of, but I don't want to waste too much time here. It was a good chapter, definitely. It's a lot of tidbits that could happen in a future arc. There's a lot of backstory on the CCG's, their system, the academy system, as well as, seeing that more connection or maybe a more possibility in the connection with the whole Agiri and the Period teaming up or not. Or how Period knows the information, some of the information source of the CCG. And then, a lot of foreshadows that other characters, such as Toka, could come in the scene soon. And then, of course, we ended off with the main focus of this arc, which is now that Shu has figured out, has learned that Kanaki is alive. And we'll see what Kanai is going to tell him. What information he's going to tell him. Will he tell him, the whole story that he's a CCG investigator? Hopefully, whatever Shu, I hope his obsession doesn't drive him too insane to the point that it will lead trouble to the family themselves. So I don't know what happens. I don't know what photos the other one unlocks. This is the first photo, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it evolve. We'll see how it would turn out to be in the end. Yeah, now it's going uphill. Now I'm really getting excited with this series once more. Then again, I haven't been not excited for the past, I don't even know. This series just keep on growing. Just keep on impressing me. And that will do it for today's episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please continue to spread the word. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thank you for the support that you have given to me for the past 31 episodes now. Going to 32 this Friday. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you next time for Sparda's World Podcast. Take care, everyone.